Hi and welcome to the Philosopher's Games, and after a long time a new episode of Guesstimating. So today we will talk about E3 2017 and I try to give you an overview of what we know is coming, but also some rumors and speculation, the fun part. So keep in mind that this video includes some speculation and sometimes I make good educated guesses, for example my prediction or reasoning for the release date of the second Dark Souls 3 DLC was not bad. Speaking of Dark Souls, let's start with Fromsoft. We have some rumors about a Bloodborne 2 announcement. For example, there are these questionable leaked schedules for the press conferences, and even a developer of Ori and the Blind Forest claimed he is 99% sure that it will be announced. On the other side, we have another rumor that says there will be no Bloodborne 2, but a game called Phantom Whale. I personally don't think that we will see Bloodborne 2, even though there are some arguments for it. For example, the president of Sony Interactive Entertainment said in an interview that he is very pleased with the cooperation with Fromsoft and that he would like to continue to work together. Another strong exclusive for the core gamer audience of the PlayStation 4 could improve the market situation of Sony even further and maybe help to sell some more PlayStation 4 Pros, since Bloodborne was a visual impressive game. What speaks against it? Fromsoftware usually only develops few games parallel and it seems they're working on 3 games right now. We know that Miyazaki is working on a new IP and the second team most likely on a new Armored Core game. He also said that at least one of them would be a dark fantasy game and that they won't do another Dark Souls. There is also the mention of a VR game. So even if the third title would be Bloodborne 2, he can't work on it himself. That would also mean the second or third team would have to work on it, which isn't a bad thing. But Bloodborne was for sure a big and work-intensive game, even though it's shorter, but they amped up the graphics so much that I don't see From working on 3 games this big at the same time. In addition, I would call Bloodborne gothic horror inspired and not dark fantasy, and Miyazaki confirmed this in an interview. For sure, one of those 3 games in development could be a Sony exclusive, but I don't think it's Bloodborne 2. Also, when it comes down to sales, I would assume that Fromsoft could prefer multi-platform releases by now. The games were quite successful on PC and on Xbox in the past. Of course, it comes down to an international publisher, and there are rumors that Fromsoftware was not happy with Bandai Namco as a publisher. So if we conclude that the third game would have to be a smaller dark fantasy title, what about a Demon's Souls Remaster or even Demon's Souls 2, even though that is very unlikely? It could also be a new IP, which I think is not unlikely since Fromsoftware announced that they're a bit tired of iterating. The craziest thing I can think of would be a new Castlevania developed by Fromsoft, but that is next level unlikely. So Bloodborne 2 could still happen, but I would say it's Demon's Souls Remaster, maybe even for PC. I can see them announcing all 3 things at E3, the weird new IP, the new Armored Core game and the Demon's Souls Remaster. Moving on. What's going on with Microsoft? When I think about Microsoft, I always ask myself, what are they doing right now? In my opinion, they need some more games for Xbox One and especially something to demonstrate the power of Project Scorpio. So I expect that they will show something at E3. But right now it's very hard to predict. I explain why in a minute. First, let's talk about an old rumor. We got Halo Wars 2 recently, which was developed by 343 Industries and Creative Assembly. So Microsoft still does strategy games. We know that Microsoft has Skybox Labs. They made, for example, new stuff for Age of Empires 2 HD. Also, they formed a new studio called Decisive Games, working on a strategy game. So maybe Microsoft is working on a new Age of Empires or something alike. I talked about this in the past and it's a solid rumor to bring out every E3. What speaks against it is that this would be PC exclusive. They probably need some steam for the Xbox One, and right now they are going with the strategy to make games playable on both PC and Xbox, even though you have only bought it for one platform. I don't see Age of Empires working on Xbox well, to be honest, and I also don't see a big audience for it on Xbox either, or this helping to promote their Project Scorpio. So a new Age of Empires would be a very unusual release, or they found a way to make it work on consoles, but I doubt it. We know there will be a new Halo game. 343 has one in the pipeline, no surprise. It would be a surprise if we see nothing at E3. Now we come to why Microsoft or their strategy is hard to predict right now. A little surprise is that Remedy, known for Max Payne and Alan Wake, whose last game was Quantum Break, will now work together with 505 Games on a new game called Project 7, using the Quantum Break engine, and bring it for Xbox, PC and PlayStation, so no Microsoft exclusive. The last game they released for a Sony console was Max Payne 2, that was in 2003 for the PlayStation 2, so a long time ago. It seems like Microsoft and Remedy don't work together for now. But that does still not answer what Microsoft is actually doing. They still have Rare working on Sea of Thieves. This could be fun and we will see more of it, maybe a beta announcement at E3. But there is more. Or less. Platinum Games' Xbox exclusive Scalebound got cancelled. Lionhead Studios, who made the Xbox exclusive Fable, got closed. Double Helix, who made Killer Instinct, which was a launch title for the original Xbox One, was acquired by Amazon. Killer Instinct was continued by Iron Galaxy Studios, so maybe Microsoft is working together with them, but they did so many different games, it's hard to tell what kind of game they could make. I think they will just continue making new seasons for Killer Instinct, and maybe we get a teaser here. Then we have the Japanese developer Grounding Inc., who made Crimson Dragon, another launch title for the Xbox, but they said they would be interested in making mobile games and maybe working together with Nintendo, which would be a natural fit for the Switch. Then we have Crytek, who made Rise, Son of Rome, another Xbox One exclusive. They are now working on two different games. Both are no Xbox One exclusives. Do you see a pattern? Let's look at what we know Microsoft is actually doing right now. They have Forza by Turn 10 Studios, no surprise, there will be Forza 7 by this studio at some point. They only made Forza games and were quite successful, so I don't expect any surprises here. Another Microsoft classic is Gears of War. Until Gears of War 4 it was made by Epic Games, who are known for the Unreal Engine or their Unreal games, and they are working on a new Unreal tournament. I maybe come later to that. So the end of another corporation. Gears of War 4 was made by The Coalition, formerly known as Black Tusk Studios. They are, as the name suggests, working most likely on a new Gears of War, but it seems Gears 4 didn't sell that well and I think the series lost a bit of steam, so maybe they do something new with the series or a new IP. Bizarre, isn't it? We have a new Halo and Forza, and the most interesting thing could be a new direction of Gears of War or a new IP by that studio. Of course there is Sea of Thieves by Rare and maybe a new Age of Empires or a new strategy game for PC and Xbox, but these are probably the wrong games to promote Project Scorpio. I don't know where or what, but to push the Xbox One further and help out Project Scorpio, they need some new games, but they lost several old partners, cancelled games like Scalebound by Platinum Games, without partnering with new big studios. If you want to make visual impressive games for your new, most powerful console ever made for true 4K gaming, you need some big development studios, but right now there is nothing new. So it looks like Halo 6, Forza 7 and Gears of War 5 must be absolute beasts, but where could a new visual impressive IP come from? I assume there will be at least one surprise and that we will hear more about Project Scorpio. Will it be named Xbox 2 or Xbox One Zero or Xbox One X? I don't know, but the release date and especially the price would be very interesting information. I would assume it will release November and cost around $500, even though $600 would be more realistic, I guess. And I'm very curious who will develop that new IP. I can't imagine that Microsoft has nothing new, but it looks like they will have to pull something out of their hat. But for now, Microsoft remains a mystery. Maybe Mojang is doing something big besides Minecraft? Maybe they work together with Oculus and push VR, or with Valve, but that seems very unlikely. We will see. It becomes very clear that something is strange with Microsoft when you look at their competition. Their things look totally different. Let's start with Sony. They already announced a lot of games. We have a new The Last of Us, a new God of War, Days Gone, Detroit Become Human, a big Uncharted DLC, Crash Bandicoot and Kojima's Death Stranding. And we will hear more about it at E3. That lineup is really impressive. As mentioned, maybe we also get a Demon's Souls Remastered or Bloodborne II. A new Armored Core game would be also strong in Japan and probably more interesting for Sony than for Microsoft should it be a multi-platform release. But I could be totally wrong here. I could imagine Sony continues with more VR titles, maybe even a teaser for something new by Guerrilla Games, the Horizon Zero Dawn developers, but I think it's far too early for them. We also have Media Molecule and Dreams. I guess that returns maybe with VR. We also maybe hear more about Gran Turismo. And we will hear about a new IP or a new Infamous from Sucker Punch Productions. I could imagine they move on and do something new, but maybe Sony plays it safe and goes for more Infamous action. But Sony is looking so strong that they could take the risk and it can pay off. I also think that Infamous lost a bit of steam after the last release, so something new is in my opinion far more likely. With this we have potentially one new IP, but maybe they do VR stuff as the Manchester studio, but also Sony's Japan studio finished their games that are Team Ico, who made The Last Guardian, and Team Gravity, who made Gravity Rush 2. I think it's far too early for them to announce something new, but you never know. And what is even more important, we know that something will come from there at some point. Then we have Insomniac Games and the rumors of a new Resistance game, maybe even a new IP. I think we can say that Sony will announce games and more information to already announced stuff plus new VR games. Sony Playstation is looking strong and the amount of exclusive games is just jaw-dropping. Microsoft has to step up their game if they want really to compete with this. And we have another competitor, Nintendo. They are always interesting because they have huge potential, but they usually don't care much about E3, so I don't expect very big announcements for now. They will give us more information on Super Mario Odyssey, Splatoon 2 and ARMS. I think it's also possible that they announce a new Smash Bros., a new Mario Party, maybe a Mario Maker port or even a new one for the Switch, and this leaked other Mario game with those strange rabbits. And a big one, I think later this year they will announce a new Metroid, but probably not at E3, even though an E3 announcement is possible. Reggie, the president of Nintendo of America, said once in an interview where he was asked about a new Metroid that the interviewer should ask him again in a year. That would be January 2018. That is of course an interpretation, but it's time for Metroid to return, and I think with the new Zelda they could have a good foundation to build a new Metroid, but first they will use the Mario Odyssey hype to fuel the Switch and drop the Metroid announcement after that, but this is pure speculation. I also expect some Switch games from third parties and more Wii U ports. Ubisoft, Square and Sega will probably have something to say. A new Pokemon is too early, but maybe they have a big surprise. I also think that we don't get a main title Pokemon for the Switch, for now, so there will be more 3DS games, maybe with a later Switch port in mind. I don't know how likely a Pokemon Sun and Moon port for the Switch is right now, but I don't expect too much here. What speaks against this is that the Pokemon company has already announced that they will develop Switch games, so maybe we get a surprise. Less surprising, the already announced Switch games Xenoblade Chronicles 2 and the so-called Lady Layton game. We know there will be the Monster Hunter Double X port for the Switch, and even though unlikely, maybe a new Monster Hunter for the 3DS. Also more about Shin Megami Tensei, Square's Project Octopath Traveler and Dragon Quest XI. Oh, and as mentioned, Grounding Inc. is probably doing something for the Switch too. A new Panzer Dragoon maybe? Who knows? More information about the online service would be nice too. I would be surprised if we hear nothing. Going a bit more into the speculation corner, a new Pikmin and of course new Zelda DLCs could be a thing. I don't expect a new F-Zero, but I hope for it. As for new IPs, Nintendo will hopefully not fall into the same trap twice, so there will be games, I guess. And maybe a ton of third-party ports, like the already announced Skyrim and Payday 2. Overall, I think Nintendo will do well and that some surprises are on the horizon, but I'm not sure how many we will see at E3. As mentioned on Twitter, I thought about splitting this video into 2 parts, so I have a smoother release schedule. And seeing how long this video already got, just talking about the 3 big ones, I will talk about Bethesda, EA, Ubisoft, Square and some others in the next video, so keep your eyes open for it. Also, spoiler, I think Capcom will release a new Mega Man. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you liked it, consider doing the YouTube and Twitter things. Thank you for watching and goodbye.